Senator Cantwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually want to agree with my colleague from Texas on this one point in the notion that I want to ask you about weed, I want to ask you about intellectual property, I want to ask you about enforcement, but I will say that my colleague is pointing out when you can get everybody else to join you and a rejoinder on something like intellectual property, that could be very helpful to us. And so I think I wish we would, I hope we can do more of that. If I could, you know, Washington is one of the most trade-dependent states in the nation. I think we have $77 billion in exports in 2017, and we help support over 300,000 jobs in and outside of our state for trade. So very important, and appreciate your hard work on all of this. My colleagues have brought up the enforcement issue. We worked on getting money into the customs bill to do more trade enforcement. So what do we have to do? I support my colleagues, Senator Wyden and Brown. What do we have to do to get you more support to build robust capacity with Mexico as it relates to enforcement?
So thank you, Senator. First of all, yeah, we appreciate the budget, the 15 million that you are such an important part of for us. I would say we're going to spend a fair amount of money that we don't necessarily have budgeted on exclusions. So at some point we had to talk about that. The exclusions are going to cost me a lot of money. But it's something the members want. It's something that I think we have to do in any event. I think in the area of enforcement generally, I would make 2 points. One, we've brought more cases and have had more brought against us. In fairness, we've had more litigation at the WTO than anyone, and we've won some major cases, as has been pointed out, including by the chairman in these two very, very big cases with China. So we are very, very enforcement oriented. Also, I would say I brought the only case that's been brought under the Peru environmental logging agreements. I mean, I brought a case there. We got a good result in that. So number one, we need the money. Hopefully we use it judiciously. I think we do. Two, we enforce across the board. And three, we have to come to agreement with members on plussing up USMCA and the enforcement side, particularly with respect, I would say, to labor and environment, and I'm happy to do that. These agreements are best not only when they have substantial bipartisan support, but also when they have substantial individual member buy-in, right? When members actually participate in the process. There has been, as I alluded in my opening statement, a lot of member participation during the course of the negotiation. I dealt with the ranking member a lot on that, and I'm sure he'll acknowledge that. And there's a lot of provisions in there that are there where I don't want to go across.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I think the success of the 15 million should bolster us to want to do more. And I believe there's so much outside our markets, outside the U.S. as markets, we need to support more activities. I wanted to ask you, obviously, with the region moving ahead on a comprehensive, progressive Trans-Pacific partnership, Japan doing a deal with the Canadian and Australian market puts us at a disadvantage. So how are we going to level the playing field there? And I do want to point out that you know, protecting intellectual property is a bipartisan issue, that we firmly believe that China needs to do better on this, that we have to work harder on this. We appreciate the work that's being done on cloud computing. As I said, I would wish that there would be a world rejoinder on this. I think the United States has done best when we have a really bright message that everybody supports around the globe to put pressure on China, but maybe you can update us on what's happening with that.
So, I would say, number one, the TPP is being implemented. It's in that process. The biggest single issue that's troubling to me on that front in the short run particularly is the hit to our farmers, because we're in a position where the Japanese have made agreements with TPP, and you articulated, you're right, as Canada and Australia and probably New Zealand would be the two biggest farm people that would affect us. They also made an agreement with Europe, which gave away additional farm agricultural access to Japan. We're in a position thus where we're treated worse than we were before relative to our our strongest competition, and that's an unacceptable situation from the United States point of view. And we are in negotiations, and I think we're making headway in that score. So I don't want to say much more than that, but I'm happy to sit down and go through the details with you privately.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cardin.